capita intake of edible oil increased by 300%. Earlier we were consuming only 6-7 kg of edible oil in a year per person. Now we are consuming 18 kg edible oil in different forms. It is not that but we buy for our household. Even if you eat cookie, even if you eat pakoda, even if you eat bread, there is some oil in all those. Indirectly, a lot of oil is there in all those. So, except millet and pulses, we did well in all other crops, in all other food and agri products. That many a time we blame intake of carb on rise of incidence of diabetes, etc., etc. In fact, if you look at the per capita intake of cereals, except last 7 years after National Food Security Act, because free and subsidized food was given, so you find some slight intake. Otherwise, if you compare it with the past, say 20 years, there is no increase in the carb intake. There are other reasons which we need to look at that why there are some development in the case of health. Next. So whatever I am saying, you can see it in the next slides. That per capita net availability, which is available in the lower panel, that it is only in the 2011 to 21 that per capita intake of cereal has increased. Otherwise, it was following a declining trend. 81, 91, 157, then 150. So like that, if you take individual year, it was declining, but last 10 years it has increased. Last 10 years per capita intake of pulses has increased, but edible oil, as I mentioned to you, the increase is much bigger. So in brief, this was what happened at overall country level to production. When we talk about India, we have so much diversity. Next, we should not miss to talk about states, because whatever we are looking at national level, it is the sum total of what happened in different states. And state level is very interesting. There is a lot of other data also, but I am using only 1 or 2 slides for states, because they give very important messages. You look at growth rate of Punjab and Haryana, crop sector, only 0.51. But look at growth rate of Andhra Pradesh, look at growth rate of Telangana, look at growth rate of Madhya Pradesh. It is between 5 and more than 7% crop sector. Madhya Pradesh more than 2 decades growing at 7.8%. Imagine, in that state growth of agriculture is higher than industry. Which is unique, that agriculture is growing higher than industry for a longer period. For a brief period, it is possible anywhere. Now, what is the implication of these things and why it is like this? First of all, in case of Haryana and Punjab, they have reached yield plateau, and 80% of area under crops there is under rice and wheat. Another 10-12% is under fodder, which will remain if you have to feed to livestock. And in these 2 crops, they have reached plateau. Once you are not able to increase your productivity, your income also stops increasing. So the only way for farmer of Haryana and Punjab to increase income from crop is seek higher and higher MSP. That also will increase your income only once. It will not give you growth trend. That instead of 2,000, if you get 3,000, so your income in one go increase by 50%. But after that, it doesn't grow because your yield is not growing. Your production is not growing. So that, now you compare that Andhra particularly, in many of my lectures, in many of my writing, I brought Andhra and MP in comparison with these 2 states, Punjab and Haryana. Why Andhra? Because at present there are 3 states in the country where productivity is much higher than Punjab and Haryana. They are West Bengal, they are Himachal Pradesh, they are Andhra Pradesh. Much higher than Andhra, Saniya, Punjab, both above Saniya and Andhra, but if you take average of 3 years, then per hectare productivity of crop sector as a whole is higher in Andhra Pradesh than Punjab. Despite having higher per hectare productivity, Andhra's crop sector is growing at 4.8%, not for 3 or 4 years, last 12 years. What is that magic which made Andhra grow at 5% and Punjab to stagnate? Simple. Andhra has diversified toward high-value crops, fruit and vegetable. Some of you may be knowing that today Andhra is the biggest producer of fruit in the country. 18% of total fruit produced in India comes from Andhra Pradesh alone. And more than 10% of vegetable produced in India comes from Andhra Pradesh alone. So that's why in case of Andhra, they are able to have high productivity. At the same time, they are able to have high growth because they are shifting toward those crops whose productivity is 3 to 5 times the productivity of field crops. Field crops means cereal, pulses, oilseeds. So compared to them, the productivity of horticulture crop is 3 to 5 times. So as Andhra has increased its area under horticulture now more than 15%, it is having this kind of growth rate. So this has a message that if we want to have growth, at some places it can come through MSP, but those places are not Punjab and Haryana. Farmer may be doing agitation, but their growth, their agriculture will not have growth unless they shift some of the areas from rice and wheat toward other crops. So there are so many things which one can pick up different pattern from this table, that what are different combination of states and what kind of messages come out of that. But it is highly creditable that MP, Telangana, Assam, AP, Karnataka are having very, very good growth. MP particularly is important. The current level of productivity in Andhra Pradesh is same as was the productivity in Punjab in 93. At that level of productivity, the growth rate in Punjab started slowing from 4% to 3%, 2%. But Madhya Pradesh, even that level of productivity, the growth rate of crop sector is 7.8% per year. To have any growth rate in agriculture more than 4% for 10 years is highly creditable. It is a biological production, not so easy that you set up 10 factories and you will suddenly have growth. So it is the strong growth of these 6-7 states which is making it possible for country as a whole to have growth rate of close to 4%. This is agriculture performance of India compared to the world. This is simply share of India in what is the global GDP. This I have taken from World Development Indicator publication of World Bank. So it is not that government of India is making statistics to show that we are doing better than the rest of the world. Again, you read these, very interesting, that till 95, till we have liberalized, till we became part of the international world order, our agriculture growth was not better than what was the growth rate of the world agriculture. But by the average growth rate of the world, same was our growth rate, just the curve is flat. Rather between 71 and 95, it declined from 8.4% to 7.4%. So much protest in this country against WTO, but after we liberalized and after WTO came, since our gain in export is much bigger than what is we are paying in terms of import, and also because of international integration of domestic prices with the international prices, in some year we may be in disadvantage, but in most of the year we remain in advantage. So that's why after this 95, you find continuously the trend is rising, and we are now producing 14% of global GDP, and with these figures, we are the third largest agricultural economy. For country we talk of fifth. Madam Karnaji was mentioning to me that she wrote on 5 fragile to 5 top economy, but in case of agriculture, we are the third top agrarian economy. And my projection, to which I will come toward the end, is that with the current growth rate, we will become the second largest economy after 15 years or so.
Our agriculture growth of last 10 years, according to World Bank, our growth rate is highest in the world. It is higher than even China. So those are the kind of achievements which we are having in case of agriculture compared to the world. Next, I come to the second key figure given to me by Praveen Rahul Sahab, that what are the lessons learned. There are a lot of lessons learned from this experience. I quickly go through those. One is assured prices like MSP encourage growth when there is potential. Historical and current trend prove the same. Even best MSP fail to generate growth if yield has plateaued. The example is Punjab and Haryana. It is high time for this country to ensure that MSP is rigorously implemented in Eastern India. There, open market price in many markets still go below MSP. So Eastern India is a sleeping giant, and it is this thing that in India the growth rate happened sequentially in different pockets, that for a long time we are able to have say a 3.5% growth rate. It was possible that we spread entire green revolution in 10 years, growth rate comes out to be 8% for 10 years, prices crash, glut, all those things, but we went in a gradual manner, and in the next stage, we have such a sleeping giant like Assam, Odisha, parts of Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, that I don't see any challenge to maintaining the growth rate close to 4% by taking modern technology there, by implementing even policies like MSP effectively there. Then widespread dissemination of improved technology, I already talked about it. The third thing I want to talk, because there is a message for this, irrigation expansion and new design paid rich dividends. Again, this is from my whatever I am saying in this study, all this is from my research papers. I am not taking material from anyone else. There I will be taking material from anyone else, I will attribute it, I will mention this. I looked at progress of irrigation in this country for a long time, particularly public irrigation. That means irrigation by canal and irrigation by pond, public pond, not private pond. Friends, you will be surprised that between 95 and 2015, we spent thousands of crores of rupees on medium and major irrigation, which is a public irrigation. But there is absolutely no increase in area under irrigation in so many years. 20 years, you can imagine how much money spent on irrigation, medium and major, not private. But no increase in area under irrigation of canals. In 2015, this scheme was modified. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, AIBP was revamped. Many other components was brought there. Interlinkage of rivers in the same basin. Many of those materialized. I have seen in Andhra, best example, how much Krishna development and other kind of development happened. So because of that, in the last 6-7 years, you find there is a big increase in area under public irrigation, area under canal irrigation. So that is another message that we must monitor our schemes. We must make on-course correction. If some day is not working, we should think of modifying it and redo the kind of thing. The fourth message is that demand-driven diversification is best source of growth. Already I showed you that in case of Andhra, it is not MSP which had driven the growth. MSP played role, but this horticulture diversification is not MSP driven. It is demand driven. Then price factor, state support, these are also lessons that over time our expenditure in agriculture is shifting from development expenditure to support expenditure. subsidy expenditure, which is not in the good interest of agriculture in the long run. And these kind of technologies, digitalization, market innovation, startup, private sector, in NITI Aayag we keep monitoring progress of these kind of things. They are showing very promising results. Though at present they are at a very small level, their impact is not yet visible at country level, but they are showing great promise. And I call these three states as lighthouse states in agriculture: MP, AP, and Telangana. Next. Again, the lesson learned that terms of trade for agriculture, generally terms of trade between two sectors follow cyclical trend. That is the natural kind of trend in economics, that if terms of trade for one sector remain favorable for a long time, it attracts resources, so there is a big supply response, so prices go down. So ideally terms of trade should move on a cyclical trend. But in case of agriculture, the terms of trade for agriculture has been increasing now for 17 years. Real prices of agriculture in last 15 years have increased by 25 to 30%. Real prices. Farmer may be saying our price may increase or not. But if you look at real prices, that in last 15-20 years, they have increased by so much. And that is becoming driver of growth. And that is where risk is there. The sustainable source of growth is not price. Price should be a supportive factor of growth. It is the technology which should be the driver of the growth. But that driver should be pushed by favorable policy, favorable price. But in case of agriculture, last 14-15 years, price is driving the growth. The moment you find that price goes down, the growth rate decelerates. The moment you find price goes up, the growth rate goes up. So there is a need to break this nexus, to just see to it that we bring technology to the forefront, to the driving seat, and that should be the main. This is another lesson. Next. The third lesson, we are not harnessing power of demand-led growth in many states. This is an interesting relation. This curve, I first put it in one of the reports of 15th Finance Commission, because our chairman, N.K. Singh Sahab, he agreed. So I gave him a hypothesis when we wanted to allocate resources for agriculture to make reforms. Why it did not, I will come to that also. It is an interesting episode. This curve shows that there are several segments of agriculture. Higher the support and intervention of government for a segment of agriculture, lower is its growth. More the freedom given to a segment of agriculture, higher is the growth. So you can see to it that fishery sector, totally free, little bit input subsidy, little bit fishermen can use credit. Even they were not having credit till recently. Only recently they have started having this fisher credit card. The growth rate in last 10 years is 8%. And best example is in your neighborhood, Andhra Pradesh, that 1/5 of total fish in this country come from that state alone. Not only inland, not only marine, because it's a marine state, even both inland as well as fishing. After that, livestock, dairy sector, I have not heard of any MSP or any subsidy for poultry import or dairy import, but growth rate is 5.6%. Then comes fruit and vegetable. Compared to the other crop sector, the growth rate of fruit and vegetable is 3.38, and overall crop sector growth rate is not even 2%. So why it is like this? It is simple that demand for fish, demand for livestock, demand for fruit and vegetable is rising at a very high rate compared to other commodities. So it is that which is pushing the growth rate. So power of demand-driven growth is always stronger than what is the power of MSP to push the growth, and it is important to keep a balance between the two. So Chandan Saab, I use this argument and NK Singh Saab agreed to allocate 50,000 crore rupee to state for taking the reforms. We submitted our first reform because of COVID. We submitted 2 reports. So in the first interim report, this was indicated. But between the first and second report, Government of India came with the reforms. So NK Singh Saab said, now Government of India has already come with the reforms. To whom we will give this 50,000 crores? So let's not have it. But unfortunately, those reforms have to be rolled back, and otherwise that package would have come from Finance Commission. It was for 3 things. One was for agriculture farm, second was for self-sufficiency in edible oil and pulses, and third was for water rejuvenation, that states where groundwater table doesn't go down, they will also be paid incentive. So anyway, that was the side thing. Next. Show दीजिए next. चलिए. I will now quickly, Premier Rao साहब कितना time है? Okay, no problem. Thank you. So I think in case of agriculture, many people again talk about Western model of development, that when economy develops, people must move out of agriculture, they go to non-agriculture, industry will give them employment. They will also talk about, I hope there are some economists in the room, they will understand that there is an Angel curve which says that when your income increases, the percent share of expenditure of food decline, that on non-food increases, all that is there. But over time, you look at the structure of the demand, only couple of things which are unheard of during 70s, they are added to the demand from agriculture. Like in 70, nobody thought that we will be using corn, we will be using oilseed, we will be using other crops for bioenergy, for ethanol or biodiesel, but we are using it. You look at the figures, how many million tons US is using corn and oilseed for producing bioenergy. So new sources of demand are entering into agriculture. It is not restricted to food, fiber and feed. There are new sources, and they are, I would say, energy, renewable energy. Even in India, we have fixed a target of 30% of our petroleum product will be blended by ethanol by 2025. So that is, I would say, a new source on agriculture. Then preference of people toward bios. Preference of people today, we know that cosmetics, the preference is shifting toward bio-cosmetics. Even not only beauty products, toiletry, bio-based source, bio-dant manjan. Earlier it was dant kanti only, now even ITC, HLL, they are also producing a dant manjan which uses those kind of things. So I used to counter my friend in Western country that when Arthur Lewis hypothesized about what will happen to this agriculture, he did not visualize that dant manjan will also come from agriculture. Okay, so but it is happening that nutraceutical, cosmetic, disinfectant, pesticide, and range of other products, and preference is shifting. There was an Australian economist, this I am not saying, he just imagined a pharma factory. He just mentioned that, then I thought it further. And I am sharing a long thought with this room because here Andhra treat agriculture differently than many other states. You have different kind of movement around agriculture. You have different kind of sensitivity and understanding about agriculture. So if I have to give my vision on agriculture, after looking at overall mood of people, overall what is happening in atmosphere, etc., my vision is that one day agriculture will meet all demand of human being, all material demand of human being, except those products which uses mineral and metal. Just think about it. I am leaving this thought with you, that what I am saying, does it make sense? And as we will move towards that, you will find we will start moving away from factory toward farm. So this is how I think that Australian economist said in one of his publications, farm as a factory. So he talked about so many products, but he did not went to this extent that everything that human needs, every product that human needs, except mineral and metal, can be produced in agriculture, and it will come from agriculture. So maybe that is the long-term vision. Next, back चले गए. You go to next. So because of these things, there is a renewed importance of agriculture, and so much so, I am giving you one figure. Did anyone imagine that share of agriculture in global GDP will start rising? After global financial crisis, manufacturing in the world could not recover. It was good in China, in Asia it was good, but overall, manufacturing could not recover globally. So you look at globally, agriculture now for the last 15 years is growing faster than non-agriculture, which is a complete negation of what Western economists said, that over time as income grows, economy develops, share of agriculture declines and share of non-agriculture increases. Yes, in a particular stage of development it can happen, but beyond a point when new kind of sources come into the demand for agriculture, the share will decline and either very slowly or in some phases it will increase. Like if there is some student, look at what is happening to Brazil's structure of economy. Their non-agriculture growth rate is almost zero. It is only agriculture which is giving them growth, and their per capita income is much higher than this. So these are the development which is happening not only in India, next, even in the global economy. This is again PLFS data. It needs to be interpreted with care, periodic labor force survey data. We have this data for last 5-6 years. Again, a lot of interesting data is coming. This data shows that employment in agriculture, elsewhere my paper is published on this, that during 17-18 to 2022-23, people may be saying that India mein unemployment बढ़ रहा है. The fact is that unemployment has declined in the last 5-6 years. A simple reason is that workforce has grown faster than labor force. Unemployment was 6% in 17-18. In 22-23, it is only 3.16. And the major source of growth in employment, there is growth in employment even in case of manufacturing in the last 6 years. It is not that manufacturing employment has not grown, but labor force, because of demographic dividend, is growing so fast that manufacturing could not absorb even 2/3 of that growth. So you will just find that half of the increase in labor force between 18 and 23 is absorbed into agriculture. Women of farm family who were moving out of agriculture are coming back into agriculture. Well, some people say it is because of NREGA, labor is not available. Some people say because of wage rates. But I would say agriculture is also becoming more rewarding. Agriculture is also now not necessarily drudgery. There is a lot of mechanization. You can avoid drudgery. If you want to milk a cow with your hand, it is your own choice. Otherwise, now machines are available. And in my village, people don't do this thing. I come from a rural area of Punjab. I have a farm. I go there every month. I really see that because of mechanization, you can considerably reduce drudgery in agriculture, and you can make agriculture work more interesting. You can make it more decent, not that you necessarily have to soil hand in everything. So this is again a trend which is showing a renewed importance of agriculture. इसको छोड़ दीजिए. अच्छा चलो छोड़ दीजिए. Next पे चलिए. हाँ, next please go to sources of future growth. Then I have to talk about sustainability also. हाँ, sources of future growth. So in the previous table, I talked about some scenario that can be possible scenario for agriculture growth, whether it can be 3%, whether it can be 4%, what it could be, what are the sources for that. One is yield gap. Still in many states, you just find that yield level is very, very low. Still you go to next curve, that will make it more clear. So this is indicator that how much scope we have for increase in productivity. If you look at irrigation, Assam, which has best water sources among all major states, only 14% area is under irrigation. So state like Assam can increase area under irrigation to 70-80%. So you imagine that if area under irrigation in Assam and many other states increase, what will happen to growth? Then you look at crop intensity. In Odisha, second crop is taken only on 13% area. So the 87% area, you have some productive activity only for 4 months. For 8 months, there is no economic activity. So once you have economic activity in agriculture, it is possible to have economic activity for 8 months, 10 months. Not more than that. In summer months you can't have. So you imagine what will be the impact. Similarly, if fertilizer is to be used, you look at diversification, you just see again Odisha. Not even 1% area is under horticulture. Not even 0.1% area is under agriculture. Tremendous scope. Like I can speak on Andhra, sometime maybe you will invite me to speak on Andhra. Andhra growth rate is very good, but if you look at it from sustainability angle and what is the source of growth, the only source of growth is development of irrigation. Krishna, magic. You know that how you have lifted water up and then given the irrigation, and main source of growth is rice. Area under rice, I will show you a table, has increased so much. So, and livestock is another source of growth here. If you had used diversification along with that, then your growth rate of crop sector, which right now is 5.8%, would be at least 10%, and probably you would become example in the world that for 15 years your agriculture is growing at 15%. So that diversification advantage Andhra took very nicely, but in case of Telangana, diversification is declining. Area under fruit and vegetable is declining, which is in contrast to what is happening in case of Andhra Pradesh. Similarly, milk productivity. Look at Assam. This milk productivity of milk animal is only 1.5 liter per animal per day. So you imagine, and we have other states where it is this I think 13 kg. So these are all indicating that there is a lot of scope and we can do it, but it will not come automatically. Next, for that we need to go for investing in technology, we need to go for reforms, we need to have fixed issue related to small farmers. We are talking from so many years, we will address it through cultivator license, all those things, but we are not going for land leasing, we are not promoting contract farming, all those kind of things. So these are list of policy and those kind of things. Next. Again, I talked about this balancing of agrochemical and natural farming. I just want to tell you that our projection shows that in next 15 to 20 years in India, the growth rate with the business as usual will remain above 3.5%. With little bit efforts here and there, it will be 4%, easy, not difficult to have 4%. But that is with business as usual. But we know that what are the implications of agrochemical-based farming. There are sustainability issues, there are safety issues, there are health issues. So with the future growth going at that level, that is the demand situation. Population growth rate is projected to be less than 1%. Because of income, a growth rate of around 1 to 1.5%. So overall growth rate in demand is projected to be only about between 2 to 2.5%. This gives India that India has to find market outside India for one-third of the growth. We are now entering that situation that for one-third of the growth, we need to find market outside India. That has its own serious implication, but its message is that, okay, if India now wants to go for natural farming, if India wants to go for sustainable farming, we are at that stage where we can take that trade-off without any threat to our food security. Which means, because Andhra and Telangana, a lot of talk about natural farming, Mr. Vijay Kumar, who promoted, he make some claims, 100% not correct, but some of his claims are correct also. But overall, there is a yield penalty. The moment you move to natural farming, there is a yield penalty. One should not take it that how come you are questioning natural farming. The reason is very simple. In agrochemical farming, there is a science of 100 years. In natural farming, there is no modern science. Yes, we have picked up the best methods from our traditional systems, and we are doing it like that. Even our traditional system can be improved a lot with science. Science is something which gives you opportunity for improvement. So I would say that at present we can afford to reduce some area under agrochemical farming, go for natural farming in a phased manner. But if we want to adopt natural farming on a big scale, we should bring science into natural farming. We will say how we can increase efficiency of even using gobar, how we can use efficiency of even Jeevamritam. All those things are possible. But if we will not bring science, then natural farming will not be able to compete with agrochemical-based farming. Then we will require higher price, etc., etc. But India is at a stage where there is no threat to food security. If we are shifting some area toward natural farming, the only implication will be that surplus will reduce, our export will reduce. Then I come to sustainable food system, which is very, very complex. This is the last issue on which I will share my views with you. One is that this sustainable world has become a buzzword, but there is complete absence of understanding of sustainable food system. What does it mean when we say sustainable food system? But what does it mean? And in application, it is completely missing. Even if you look at research, even if you look at policies, in terms of application, you don't find any conscious effort which is directing, look, we are following that policy, so we will have sustainable food system. So it is not happening. So we have a long way to go. We can take cue from literature. Like FAO says that what does it mean by sustainability? It says three dimensions: economic sustainability, social sustainability, and natural environment sustainability. We need to, if we want to promote all those, economic and social still very easy, but environment sustainability most difficult. We need to shift focus of our entire R&D toward agri-food system. We should see how we can harness synergy if we sow wheat and gram together. We need to see what kind of sequence are better rather than indiscriminate sequences. We should see how polycrops give better result than monocrop, and how we can harness circularity. Like I was at a farm of Summit in one of their Bisa farm, and they told me that in last 10 years, they are going on a particular plot. It is not a small plot of 50 acres, but they are going for zero tillage. And I found wonderful crop. If zero tillage can give us wonderful crops, why we are not adopting it? That is preventing us from doing this. So these are the kind of things which we should pick if we have to promote natural farming. We need to debate and develop simple and operational indicators of sustainability and unsustainability. And I have developed some indicators in the subsequent slides. Like if there is increase in area under millet, I will say cropping pattern is moving towards sustainability. If there is an increase in area under pulses, I will say cropping pattern is moving towards sustainability. But if already rice is a dominant crop and still area is moving toward rice, its share is increasing. I would say we are moving toward unsustainability. These kind of simple indicators are understandable by political class. We need to develop those kind of indicators. Last year I was in Tamil Nadu and I spoke there from a public forum that Tamil Nadu is the only state of the country where cropping patterns are showing some direction towards sustainability. Because area under rice is declining, area under millet, area under pulses is increasing. It is there. If you Google it, you will get it. So like that, there is another methodology. I published a paper on it, that you undertake assessment of different crops or different production options using financial, economic, environmental and natural resource assessment system. Now what does it mean? If you simply look at what is my profit, what is my loss, it is a financial analysis. You see, it is not an economic analysis in the sense that prices which you are getting and price which you are paying are not economic prices, they are financial prices. A bag of urea to the country costs 1100. In the use, farmer will be paying 270 rupees. So when you are doing economic analysis, you use cost of 1170 for one bag of urea. Same thing you do for water, same thing you do for others. Then you look at where is the profitability when you use economic prices. That shows what is the benefit cost from society point of view. Then you factor in environmental factors, that there is a greenhouse gas emission. Some crops emit more, some crops less. If you put a value on that, where is the assessment? Which crop, how much profitability? Then lastly, based on natural resources, that some crops, they are drawing from soil and some crops, they are contributing to soil, like pulses. They fix atmospheric nitrogen. If we factor that in, then where is our profitability? What is the ranking of the crops? So I think if we use this kind of approaches, then we can put information on public domain. Look, these are the indicators of sustainability. Look, you can see which is sustainable, which is not sustainable. And from simple indicators, we write on sustainability. But that is very important. If we do not pay attention to sustainability, then certainly we will be stealing the wealth of future generation for our own use, and that can be very dangerous. Thank you very much for the attention and indulgence.